Clint Eastwood sat across from Vanessa Reed, a liberal talk show host infamous for dismantling traditional Hollywood figures with her sharp, confrontational style. Reed had built her reputation by embarrassing actors, humiliating politicians, and turning once-respected guests into viral internet memes. However, on this particular night, she was about to make the biggest mistake of her career. The stage was set for what producers anticipated would be the ultimate takedown of an aging Hollywood icon. The audience had been carefully curated, a mix of social media activists and progressive influencers, primed to laugh, clap, and react at the perfect moments. The lighting, the camera angles, and the framing of the discussion all served one purpose: to make Clint Eastwood appear out of touch, outdated, and irrelevant in the modern entertainment industry. As the interview began, Vanessa leaned forward with a smirk, her voice dripping with condescension. "Clint, let's be real. The world has changed. Do you really think we still need your kind of masculinity in Hollywood?" A few chuckles rippled through the audience, signaling that the trap was set. But Clint Eastwood, a man who had spent decades in an industry that thrives on reinvention, did not flinch. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, unfazed, prepared to turn the entire interview on its head. What Vanessa Reed and her producers failed to understand was that Clint Eastwood was not just another celebrity caught in the crosshairs of modern media scrutiny. He was a legend, a man who had faced decades of Hollywood's shifting tides without ever compromising who he was. The producers had rehearsed their strategies, carefully selecting clips from past interviews that could be twisted into controversy. The questions had been meticulously crafted, not to provoke discussion, but to entrap Eastwood in an ideological battle that he was supposed to lose. Vanessa pressed forward. "Look, Clint, I think we both know the world has evolved. We don't need these old-school tough guy figures anymore. People today see strength differently. It's about empathy, about kindness, about moving forward. Wouldn't you agree that your version of masculinity is outdated?" The audience chuckled again, some nodding in agreement. Everything was going according to plan, until Eastwood finally spoke. "So what you're saying is, strength doesn't matter anymore?" His voice was calm, measured. Vanessa saw her opening. "What I'm saying, Clint, is that your version of strength, the one that says a man should never be vulnerable, that toughness is everything, that's toxic." Applause rippled through the audience. She could feel the momentum shifting in her favor. She went in for the final blow. "The truth is, Clint, men like you, this old-school tough guy act, you're what's holding society back. Wouldn't it be better if we just left that in the past?" Gasps. Even some of Vanessa's supporters hesitated. This was no longer just an argument. It was a direct attack. The tension in the room thickened. Then, Eastwood leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Tell me something," he said evenly. "You ever see a firefighter run out of a burning building because he needed to process his emotions?" The studio fell silent. Vanessa blinked. "What? Ever seen a soldier drop his weapon in the middle of combat because he felt like talking things out instead?" Eastwood continued, his voice unwavering. The atmosphere shifted. The laughter was gone. The audience, previously entertained, now seemed to reconsider their perspective. Vanessa attempted to regain control. "That's not what I—" But Eastwood didn't let her finish. "Ever seen a single mother working 2 jobs just so her kids have food on the table? Think she gets the luxury of rethinking toughness when the bills are due?" The power dynamic in the room had flipped. For the first time that night, the audience wasn't following the cues set for them. A few claps erupted, hesitant at first but growing stronger. Vanessa realized she was losing them. Desperate to reframe the discussion, she quickly interjected, "Oh, come on, Clint. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Hollywood, about the image we put out in the world." Clint shrugged. "Hollywood glorifies a lot of things. You ever seen a movie where the hero saves the day by filling out paperwork? Laughter. Real laughter. Not the controlled, pre-approved kind the producers had anticipated." At that moment, Clint Eastwood had done what no one expected. He had turned a media ambush into a moment of undeniable truth. He reminded everyone that strength, resilience, and toughness are not relics of the past but essential qualities that transcend politics, entertainment, and generations. By the time the interview ended, the internet was already ablaze. Clips of the exchange spread like wildfire. The plan to humiliate Clint Eastwood had backfired spectacularly. Instead of looking outdated, he had proven why he remained a timeless icon. The night was meant to mark the downfall of an old Hollywood legend. Instead, it became the moment that solidified his legacy. In the fast-paced world of media, interviews serve as a platform for public figures to voice their opinions while journalists attempt to challenge and scrutinize them. However, when an interview turns into an ambush, the consequences can be severe. Such was the case with Vanessa Reed, a once-renowned journalist whose career took a dramatic downfall after a contentious interview with Clint Eastwood. What was intended to be a hard-hitting interrogation quickly unraveled into a public relations disaster, exposing the dangers of media bias and manipulation. The interview began with Vanessa Reed poised to take down Clint Eastwood, but the veteran actor remained composed under pressure. Despite aggressive questioning, Eastwood maintained his calm demeanor, refusing to be baited into controversy. However, what was supposed to be a fair interview soon revealed itself to be a calculated attack. Vanessa persistently interrupted Eastwood, twisted his words, and attempted to provoke a reaction. The audience, initially expecting a thought-provoking discussion, quickly saw through the tactics being employed. The backlash was immediate. Instead of rallying behind Vanessa Reed, viewers across social media platforms criticized her handling of the interview. Many accused her of attempting to stage a character assassination rather than engaging in a meaningful conversation. Sponsors, unwilling to be associated with biased journalism, began to withdraw their support. Within hours, the show faced financial repercussions as advertisers distanced themselves, forcing network executives into crisis mode. Emails from major sponsors flooded the network's headquarters, each echoing the same sentiment. They did not wish to be affiliated with deliberate media manipulation. Overnight, millions of dollars in sponsorship were lost. Recognizing the severity of the situation, the network attempted damage control by issuing a carefully worded statement. They expressed regret over how the interview unfolded and reassured their audience of their commitment to journalistic integrity. However, the public was not convinced, and the damage had already been done. In a desperate attempt to salvage her reputation, Vanessa Reed took to social media. She defended herself by claiming she was the victim of an online smear campaign, blaming the backlash on so-called toxic mobs. However, her response only fueled the outrage. Viewers accused her of hypocrisy, pointing out that she had spent years vilifying others through similar tactics. Matters worsened when leaked audio footage from the production team surfaced, revealing that Vanessa had planned to provoke Eastwood intentionally. This revelation solidified the perception that the interview had been a coordinated smear campaign rather than an unbiased discussion. As the controversy grew, public figures, including celebrities and politicians, voiced their opinions. Many, even those who did not necessarily align with Eastwood's views, condemned Vanessa's approach. A U.S. senator weighed in on the debate, stating that the incident epitomized why the public had lost faith in mainstream media. The interview was no longer just a scandal. It became a case study in the failure of ethical journalism. Realizing the severity of the allegations against them, the network scrambled to regain control of the narrative. Legal teams were assembled, and attempts were made to shift the focus by digging up past controversial statements from Eastwood. However, these efforts proved futile as the public had already made up their minds. The network was facing a credibility crisis, and soon, legal action followed. 3 days after the interview, headlines broke the news that Clint Eastwood had filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the network. The lawsuit alleged defamation, media manipulation, and an orchestrated attempt to harm his reputation. The evidence, including the leaked hot mic footage, strongly supported his claims. Eastwood's legal team argued that the interview was not conducted in good faith, but rather as a targeted attack. The case was not just about one individual. It highlighted the broader issue of media responsibility and accountability. As the lawsuit progressed, the repercussions for the network escalated. Major advertisers severed ties, causing stock prices to plummet. The network faced regulatory scrutiny and was eventually fined $20 million for unethical journalistic practices. To avoid further financial losses, they were compelled to issue a public apology to Eastwood, acknowledging their failure to uphold journalistic integrity. However, their reputation had already been irreparably damaged. For Vanessa Reed, the fallout was even more severe. Once celebrated as a prominent journalist, she now found herself ostracized. Her show was canceled, and no other network was willing to take the risk of hiring her. In one final attempt to gain public sympathy, she appeared on a podcast to discuss the backlash, claiming she had been unfairly attacked. However, the public was unsympathetic. Instead of support, she received reminders that she had built her career on similar takedowns of others. Within weeks, she deleted her social media accounts and announced she was stepping away from public life indefinitely. The scandal surrounding Vanessa Reed and her network serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical journalism. The public demands authenticity and fairness from the media, and when that trust is broken, the consequences can be devastating. Clint Eastwood's ability to remain composed and fight back against media manipulation not only salvaged his own reputation, but also set a precedent for holding the press accountable. Ultimately, this case underscores the principle that truth and integrity will always triumph over deception and bias.